Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome back to the International Conference on ELT. We invite you all to the fifth session of our conference, which is on the topic Embracing Technologies, Addressing Challenges, English Classrooms, Sites for Sustainable Skill Development. Our resource person for the session is Dr. Arati Majumdar, who is the head of the Department for General Education, Modern College of Business and Science, Muscat, Sultanate of Oman. She is a sought-after renowned trainer in English language teaching, and we are blessed to have her with us. So, without any further ado, I request Ms. Arati Majumdar to proceed with the session.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning to all of you. Being an online session, first I want to ask you all whether you all can hear me. That's very important. So can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the English department of the St. Thomas College, who have invited me to be a resource person. And especially I would take this opportunity to thank Dr. Justin for introducing himself and introducing me to the public of Kerala and to the education community out there. Just a little brief about myself, that I was a part of the Indian education system for 25 years in Baroda before I came to Oman, and of course now a lot of water has flown down the bridge since I have come to Oman in 2014. So today what I would be speaking is actually my not encounter, but my engagement with education and technology as I see it in today's context. And this is where I have located my presentation, that when I'm saying embracing technologies, addressing challenges, is it only that we are teaching language skills to our students, or are we going to address something bigger than this in order that they are successful in their future careers? So this is the context in which I would like to speak on today. So let me share my presentation with you all, and hoping that you all can see it. So the title of my presentation is Embracing Technology, Addressing Challenges, English Classrooms, Sites for Sustainable Skill Development. So I am looking at what kind of skills we can develop in our English classrooms, given today's technological advancement. Let me just give you an outline of my presentation. So basically I would be focusing on Education 4.0, then using language models in the English classroom, the challenges that we are facing today, and what is the way forward for us. So let me begin by saying by a quote from Klaus Schwab in 2015. You may feel that, oh, 2015, it is a long way ago, and why am I using it? But if we read it through carefully, let me quote it for you. We stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. We do not yet know how it will unfold, but one thing is clear: the response to it must be integrated, comprehensive, involving all stakeholders, from the public to the private sectors, to academics and to the civil society, unquote. I think what he spoke in 2015 is extremely relevant today, also 9 years down the line. In 2015, perhaps he did not realize that the pandemic will, hit us so hard, and how this entire technological revolution is going to unfold itself. And as we have seen it, the scale, scope, and complexity of this transformation was huge, if not enormous. And we never had experienced anything of this kind before. But yes, when the pandemic struck us, we did, respond to it very, very comprehensively and integratedly. But is it enough, or should we move forward? So to take this a little forward, let us understand first how the different IR situations in our world has resulted in a changing scenario. I think all of you all know the steam engines, or especially the olders who were in the education field. If I am addressing to them, they will all know the steam engines and the trains and how we moved about in India, which was again followed by the electric engines. And then, of course, when technology came into our classrooms, we'd have our projectors, we had our stencils, then we came to our tape recorders, audio visual aids, and then came the laptops or the computers, the CDs, the compact discs. So we have seen a change. We have definitely seen a change in the education. And we rightly had to respond to this change. Because if we were not responding to the change, our graduates would never be a part of the larger society. And coming from that source, coming down the education changes, we have reached today in 2024, where you see that new technologies are developing every day. Every day new technologies develop, and by the time we try to embrace them, by the time we try to incorporate it, they are already outdated. So what remains is skills and competencies. And skills and competencies to power those apps, to power those new technologies, to give those new technologies to life. So though we may feel that, STEM subjects are the in thing, but believe me, today there is a resurgence for the art subjects, the humanities subjects, because whatever be the technologies, we need to humanize it to move forward. So given these phases, every IR has brought about an educational change. And every time we have tried our best to align the new technology to the skill development which is required in the job market. Whether they are learning, whether it is in terms of curriculum, whether it is in terms of professional development, whether in terms of information technology or assessments, we have changed as was required of us to change. But now we are in a very different era, and you can see that the goalpost is being shifted every now and then. So what are those two important things which has made shift our goalpost? The first goalpost where we shifted our education was the pandemic. Yes, we knew online and distance learning as something where part-time students could enter into, take those courses, or we knew that those who were working could take those courses. But what the pandemic did was, it brought the entire university, it brought the entire college into our living rooms and our bedrooms. So we had to change, because we don't want our students to be left behind. So when we look at education 4.0. The most important points that strike us is technology, autonomy, competencies, and flexibility. We have to be flexible with our learning environments. We have to be flexible with our teaching methodologies. But when we are looking at, delivering all our courses online, whether it is from the school level to the PhD program, remember, technology played a very, very important role. Not only technology, but we had to change our infrastructure as well. How were we to know that we would be delivering our class online on laptops or on mobile phones? Of course, therefore, we had to be flexible with our learning methods as well, because learning methods had changed completely. How do we know that we are engaging our students? What kind of activities are we giving to our students to understand whether they have logged into our system or not, or whether they are engaged into that system or not. So the entire scenario of 4.0 changed with the onset of the pandemic. And of course, it also gave a window for the students to be autonomous in their learning. Because it was important that the teacher provides them with the materials, provides them with the technology, provides them with the knowledge. But just as in the face-to-face classroom, we scaffold the students by holding their hands, in the pandemic, it was getting a little difficult. Yes, teachers tried their best, but sometimes, we were left wanting. And I'm sure everybody echoes these sentiments of what I am saying. This next important point, or rather development which has impacted our education, is the Chat GPT. And this impact can be felt right from November 2022, when it was first established, or when it was published to the people. And as you can see in this slide of mine, by March 2023, you can see its use manifold. And of course, we are not wrong. You and I, all of us, we use ChatGPT. But now, there are debates whether ChatGPT should be used, whether AI tools should be used. Researches have been conducted on whether the students should use AI tools. But ask yourself a question: can we wish it away? Even if you and I, we do not want our students to use ChatGPT or any other AI language model tool, can we wish it away? Are they going to not use it in writing their assignments? Now, towards not using this, have institutions developed policies for the students for not using these AI tools? If institutions cannot take a firm stand, cannot have a policy of their own, I'm not talking about other tools, I'm talking about AI language model tools, then why should teachers be blacklisted? And that is where, and why I'm saying blacklisted is because we as English teachers, we as writing teachers, we have an objective towards developing the linguistic skills of our students. And we want them to be proficient in LSRW. And here comes the writing part. If they are using they are using these AI tools to give us an assignment which is totally perfect, then I think we need to question ourselves. An institution needs to question. But then teachers may take a firm stand. But then will it be accepted by the students? Will the students like it? That is the question we need to ask today. And these questions which have come, which are in my mind for a long time now, have, sort of, given way to an opinion of which I am slowly developing. And that is, why not use these AI tools constructively? Why not explore the possibilities of how teachers can use them in teaching, how teachers can use them in creating assessments, why students cannot use them in learning, and why research scholars in their research, and how and why can't they use it? But of course, my main word is using constructively. And when I'm saying using constructively, I mean we also need to understand the challenges that are underlying when all these kinds of technological tools are used. So moving forward in how AI can be used in teaching and creating assessments. Yes, historically technology was used as a resource. As I mentioned earlier we had our stencils, then our projectors, then came the CDs, compact discs, etc., etc. But now technology is a part of the entire college's learning management system. We have e-learning textbooks. We have many other resources that can be used in teaching. And mainly they are aid-in services. But now, as I have said, these AI tools have brought about a paradigm shift in the way we look at these models. As I mentioned earlier also, that online teaching was during the pandemic, and it has created a huge impact on the teachers. I'm sure you all can remember the tremendous pressure on us when we as language teachers were forced to change our strategy in achieving our language outcomes. Every lesson that we planned, every class that we planned for, whether it was in terms of the materials, whether it was in terms of the techniques used, or whether it was in terms of the assessments that we used to achieve our learning outcomes, always had these three important aspects: the teaching presence, the cognitive presence, and the social presence. What does all this? What are all these presences, if I may use this word? Just think back, just reflect on those days when you used to create your lesson plans. Very meticulously, you would choose your methodology, you would choose your materials, and you would choose the techniques how to deliver these new materials in the classroom. Cognitive presence. How are you going to develop the cognitive faculties of your students? How are you going to give them the new ideas? How are they going to connect with each other in order that you understand, in order that they understand what you are saying? And social presence. Huge thing in an online classroom, because you cannot see your students. Yes, you may say that they open their cameras and you are seeing them and they are seeing you. But is it the same as face-to-face classroom? I don't think so. And coming back to the Gulf, we have a very important social aspect here where our students do not open cameras. So we do not know whether the students are there on the other side of our laptops or not. So how are you going to build these communities? How are you going to encourage, a stress-free communication? How are you going to encourage group work or pair work, or how are you going to do these activities? So it is it was a big challenge. And I'm sure you agree with me that, everything was not hunky-dory. Yes, we felt that, oh, it's so lovely to have an online class in the beginning when the pandemic struck us. But as the pandemic went on and on and on for 1.5 years, 2 years, we teachers were burnt out completely. Because every day, every in and out, we had to see that our lesson plan had a social presence, had a cognitive presence, and we were giving a kind of a new educational experience to our students by setting the right environment, by selecting the right content, and by using the correct methodology. Then my question is, AI language models now has come with a whiff of fresh air. Why not use them? Why not use them? Why not use them to plan and design activities depending upon the different levels of learners? We all know that our students have different levels of intelligences. I need not talk about the multiple Gardner's multiple intelligences. An AI language model will give you that kind of a flexibility where you can, with the correct prompts, the AI model could come up with numerous activities which would cater to the different levels of students. Generating ideas. How many times we have racked our brains, oh, on what topic should I give a writing task on to my students? So we have a writing task in the class, we have a practice task, and plus we have to give a writing task as an examination or whatever. So how many ideas are you going to generate out of your mind? So it is here I think that the AI language model tool helps teaching. Material development, creating materials which are again well suited for our learners. Now again, when I'm saying well suited for our learners, I go back to the proficiency level of learners. I think we have that kind of a flexibility where you can give 2 or 3 kinds of text to your students in your classroom generated by AI according to their levels, where you can form a group of students having roughly the same level of intelligences, and you can give those reading texts to them. Would you have been able to garner these texts or look into these texts immediately after a classroom for the next day? I leave it to you to think on this. And of course, giving feedback to the students. This is an important, but this I use this as a disclaimer because I myself have not used this. Of course, I'm not going into the details of what kind of teaching you should do, what kind of assessment you should do, because my colleague Shahala yesterday has talked, I'm sure she has talked about it, or she may have spoken at length with you all in her presentation or when you were having a face-to-face conversation with her. So she is good in it, and I know that she has used a lot of these models in our classroom, in her classroom and in her presentation where she gave here in Muscat. So I'm sure she has spoken to you about it, and I'm not going into the detail of that. Now, let me just look at the very broad thing on the assessments, because again, I know that Shahala has worked on this, and I'm not going into too much of different kinds of open AI apps, where you can have where you can generate this lesson plan or this assessment or thing. But on a general note, I'm saying that yes, you can use AI language models for comprehension, for having open-ended or multiple choice questions, even formative assessments. And again, as I'm saying, I'm using this with a disclaimer about grading essays and giving a feedback because I have not used it myself. Let me just pause a little and, help you reflect on what I have said. Why I'm saying this is because, as I mentioned, online teaching is quite tiresome. Let me give you an example. Last spring semester, our college also went into online teaching for one semester. And believe me, from online teaching, then to face-to-face, and then moving into online teaching, again, we felt it was a pain. But yes, our management wanted us to do it, and we did it. But at that time, we sort of used the AI models, but we did it with an open mind. We have to discern what is good for our students. Will this be applicable to our students? We just cannot follow anything blindly. That, because AI is giving us, it has to be correct. No. We have to see whether we can adapt it to our classroom. We may get comprehension questions. We may get reading passages, but we have to reflect on it. Will it be applicable to our students? Will my students be able to do it? And that is where the teacher's discernment plays a very, very important role. These are but just tools to help us. We may gain a lot of activities. We may have a lot of activities in our data, but which to choose and how to adapt it to the circumstances is the real test for the teacher. Not only is this a test for the teacher, but it is also a test for the student. Now, how can AI language models help the student in their learning? And yes, it can lead to self-directed learning and development of critical thinking skills. Again, as I said, that I'm not going into details because Shahala spoke about self-paced learning yesterday. I would be more interested in the critical thinking aspect of it. Okay, so now, how does AI language models help student learning? We all know that a lot of input is required by the learner to assimilate, internalize, and produce language. How can we forget Krashen's input hypothesis? Or how can we forget that Piaget always said that Piaget and Vygotsky's theories of learning, where one talks about the cognitive aspects of internalizing a language, and where Vygotsky speaks about social interactionism, or the constructivist mode of theory, constructivist mode of learning. No student comes with a clean slate or the tabula rasa. They all have certain things. They all come with a certain kind of experience. And it is here that we need to explore the kind of experience that they have by providing them with the appropriate input. So it is not only the student, not only the teacher, but even the student, when he or she wants to use these AI tools, need to understand what kind of input can we use. The input can be in the form of text, vocabulary, scaffolding on items on grammar, whatever. Even AI, if we want our students to use AI tools, we need to tell them, we need to direct them. Okay, you can use these tools, but see that you are not deviating from what is being taught in the class. Because, as you all know, input is fine, but if the input is not suitable to what the teacher is explaining in the classroom, it has got no value, it has got no meaning. So it is very important that student may use AI tools to understand a concept which this teacher has, taught in the class, but he or she has not understood it. Remember, in a face-to-face class, we always say that why do we have group work? Why do we have pair work? Because a concept which a student cannot understand in, say, language 2, if that concept can be made much more explainable to him or her in L1, then that helps to just understand the concept. I'm not talking about producing the language. So AI language model is like, a pair work for the student. That is a technology as a pair, which he or she can use it to strengthen the use of his language or to strengthen the concepts and to assimilate more and more knowledge about a particular concept which the teacher has been explaining in the classroom. So no harm if the student uses AI, but at the same time, again, the critical thinking skills come to the fore. It is here where the critical thinking skills are learned by the student in the use of AI. Am I, if I am using AI, just like a teacher, as I said, just like a teacher needs to think about the AI generated materials, whether it is applicable to her classroom or not, her or his classroom. Similarly, the student needs to think for himself, start thinking, start understanding whether what the AI has generated for me, is it according to what the teacher has told me in the classroom. And that is where the critical thinking skills come to the fore. So let me move on to something which is related to research. We all know that AI has made a huge impact on the field of research, and research especially in the STEM subjects. I am emphasizing STEM subjects in medicinal sciences, in computers, engineering. Lots and lots of data are there because according to Nature, one of the renowned journals, it says that data management has become faster. And rightly so. Why not? Because they have huge amount of data and they have to summarize the data, they have to find patterns in the data, and no doubt about it that AI is going to help them. And AI is reducing their workload by just finding out patterns and just by managing the data. But what about our subjects? Subjects in arts and humanities and social sciences. How is it going to help us? Yes, we also have data. We also have literature review. And definitely AI helps narrow down a topic of research. Any research, whenever we want to write a research paper, we always look at the broader area. And slowly we need to narrow it down to the topic where you feel that yes, a lot of data can be received, I can do good work in this area. So it helps us to identify literature, sources of literature, where your topic of research is located. So definitely AI helps in literature review. It helps in generating summaries of the articles when you are providing it with keywords. But yes, I will come to the downsides of this also. I'm not saying that everything is good. Okay, everything is positive. I'm not saying that, because there is always a other side of the coin. But let us look how it can help us in research. It can help us in analyzing data, I agree. There are so many, suppose a person wants to do take up a research topic in media studies, or maybe in social media reporting, or in print media reporting, or in television media reporting. You have huge amount of data, and the data is not just huge, it is voluminous. And therefore, to identify these patterns and to provide insights into the data that you are analyzing definitely helps. I mean, any AI tool is going to help. And yes, if the research is in another language and you feel that you want to read the research, that particular research article, but you are unaware of the particular language, you do not know that language, then it will help you to translate the research paper in the language that you want. No doubt, these are valuable inputs for our disciplines, for all our courses, or even for the English courses or English research topics that we are, any other research, fellow researchers doing it. Because it helps us to understand also what are the latest development, what is the latest trend. It helps us to answer domain-specific questions. It helps us in citation and referencing, whether you are doing citation and referencing from the MLA style sheet or the APA, Chicago, Harvard. There are numerous different styles of referencing nowadays. So if you give the exact prompt, then the AI tool comes up with the required input that you want, or the output, as I may say so. But what is the biggest challenge? All the can be happy. The researchers say that yes, we have got the best of the tools today, but is it ethical? And when I'm talking about the biggest challenge as an ethical challenge, I'm talking about at a personal and the academic level. And the second challenge, which I think is inadequate learning. You may question me, ma'am, you just now told us that, oh, there's so much of learning taking place if the students are using AI, if the teachers are using AI, research scholars, etc., etc. But there is a bigger challenge of inadequate learning, which I will come in my subsequent slide. So let me first look at ethical challenge, which is academic integrity. Do we have the values of academic integrity? Are we compromising with the fundamental values on which this humanity rests? And you know what the fundamental values are. According to the International Center for Academic Integrity, it is defined as a commitment, even in the face of adversity, to be firm towards 6 fundamental values: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility, and courage. So just reflect for a minute. You are using all AI language tools, whether it is the teacher, whether it is the student, whether it is the researcher. Are you being honest to what you are doing? Are you quoting saying that you have taken this from another source? Or have you taken somebody else's ideas and you are quoting them as your own and betraying their trust? Are you being fair to them also? Are you showing the original writer of the ideas respect? Are you taking the responsibility of saying that yes, you were wrong and you have breached integrity? Do you have the courage to own it up? I think these are certain fundamental values which a student needs to be ingrained. Not only student, I'm talking about teachers as well. So even with you and I or the students, the research scholars, I will take it as a part of the students, we are using AI. We need to commit to these fundamental values of humanity, because these are core values and they are not only applicable to teaching and learning, but they are applicable to all stakeholders. And remember, these values are not only for education. These are to build a respectful civil society. Because ultimately the students are going out. They are going out of the four walls of the classroom. They are going out of the four walls of the university and the college to fulfill a bigger role in their life. And that rests on these fundamental values. Even in the job space, even in their, whether it is their professional space or their personal space, all these values are important. So through this AI, through the use of AI, we need to teach them these academic values. So now let me talk about inadequate teaching, inadequate learning. Why did I say this? If the students are going to use technology, or rather, when I am talking about inadequate learning, I am specifically reaching out to the research scholars. If we are using technology for using literature review, fine. You generate all summaries of all the literature sources that you have. But can you think critically to find out the research gap? Is AI going to help you in that? AI may give you a very generalized way of looking at the research gap. Can you as a student use your critical thinking skills to narrow down that research gap to which your research is catering to? Are you in a position to frame research question based on your research gap? Are you in a position to frame the hypothesis? What about research methodology? Is the research methodology suitable to the research you are doing? Will your AI help you to apply statistical tools of t-test, chi-test, or ANOVA, etc., Pearson correlation? So I think we need to think a little. We need to critically think how far we need to go in using this AI, for our research purpose. Because if we are using AI tools at every step, then we are not learning anything. There is no learning taking place. Because a research methodology, AI cannot tell you a research methodology specifically suitable to your own research. Because there are many dependent variables and independent variables in any research. So to come up with the exact methodology, design of the exact methodology, and to use exact tools or to prepare exact instruments is a challenge. Generalization, yes, I agree. A general way AI tools definitely help. But here we need to think how far to go, how much to use, and how far to go. So for all these thinking, Human mind is required. Critical thinking is required to answer all the above questions, which I just mentioned to you. It is not technology. The students need to be specific. You cannot say, oh, the AI gave me this and therefore I'm using it. No. You need to be very, very specific to the research you are doing. So now, I come to the greatest challenge, and that is plagiarism. Whether it is student or whether it is a research scholar, plagiarism is one important and a major challenge that use of AI tools bring with them. And therefore, the reasons could be numerous for plagiarism, for students to plagiarize. Say, in this part of the world, where I can use these examples, that they might not have understood the assignment, they might not be prepared, they might not have time, or there could be family issues where students did not find time. And even just to say, you're boasting in front of their peers, oh, I can use AI, and the teacher will not find out. It could be numerous. But we need to stem this at the very beginning. And how do we stem it? By building a classroom culture of academic integrity. As you can see, it is not a one-man show. Only teacher cannot do it in the classroom. It is a total integration of the institutional policies, the teaching and learning that we are doing, and establishing a classroom culture. Institutions have to build policies and procedures and systems for the staff, students, and the faculty. But most importantly, they should be followed. They should be implemented. The teacher on his or her part needs to establish the trust of the students. A rapport needs to be built between the teacher and the student in order that they do not plagiarize. And accordingly, the assessment practices should be should be used in such a way that they do not allow students to cut, copy, paste from any internet sources. Given this, of course, I'm not going too much into detail, but just I'm sharing the ideas with you. What is the way forward? The way forward is definitely, as I mentioned earlier, you need to build the culture. But student education not only is important, but involvement is important. There has to be student participation. If there is no student participation in this, then unfortunately you cannot take it forward. So it is an integrated effort of the institution, the faculty, and the student. So now, let me just tie up the strands for you. Yes, English classrooms, I think, have come a long way today by just, when I'm saying English classrooms, I'm talking about the ELT situation where we are just, focusing on developing linguistic skills. We are just focusing on the LSRW skills. I think what we now need to focus is on life skills and professional skills, which the students will carry it forward. I agree, technology brings in a lot of new opportunities, and we need to adapt to those opportunities. We need to take those opportunities. But of course, every technology comes with its own challenges. And I personally feel that AI tools are not the end. Everything does not rest on AI tools. Yes, it is a means to an end, and I agree to it. And as I said, a humanistic approach is required. And it is here where the progress of education and institution and the student can be achieved not by using only technology, but by integrating it into the system. And when the humans and the technology complements each other to achieve a particular goal, then only development occurs. So now, to integrate, I'm going back to that statement that I made. I began my presentation with a quote from the World Economic Forum in 2015 by Prof. And he had said an integrated approach. So we need to integrate all the stakeholders, whether they are administrators, whether they are students, whether they are staff, whether they are faculty, and of course, technology. Because today I feel that English teachers have a major role to play. They are not only teachers, who want to develop, as I said earlier, only linguistic skills or only reading skills or writing skills. No, we have come a long way, and we need to be those agents of change. Language teachers needs to be those agents of change, where our students can confidently go into the society, having all the human values, but at the same time knowing how to use technology. And therefore, quoting from an Iranian researcher, where he talked about in this, in his research paper, Live Syllabus, he talked about applied ELT. And what he said was, I'm quoting, language teachers are required to become interdisciplinary instructors, critical agents of change in society. Language classrooms today can become sites where life skills are acquired and learned, unquote. And this is what I feel AI has brought into our system today. Education 4.0, and AI language models are going to change tomorrow. Already the AI myth is bursting. And I'm sure you all know that the AI tech giants, they have, pumped in so many millions of dollars in their AI models, but now the investors are questioning the returns. So it is not long when another kind of AI model will be generated, and we would start using those models, or the students will start using those models. Yes, we need to teach them how to use it. We need to teach them how to adapt it to their education and learning. But at the same time, with the use, we need to also we also need to tell them how to use it ethically, how to use it constructively, so that human values are not lost. So, thank you very much for your patient listening. These are my references, and I am now open to questions from your side.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful session. Now the forum is open for discussion. If the participants have any more doubts or queries, you may ask them.
This is Dr. Justin. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Justin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation and being here today and giving a very informative, very effective lecture. Looking forward to collaborate with you in future projects like this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to a collaboration with you.
Thank you.
So thank you, ma'am, for such an engaging and informative session about the need of incorporating technologies in our classrooms and teaching methodologies. As Arathi ma'am said, we cannot avoid AI tools when we are designing our teaching methods. We need to use various AI models to educate our students. So once again, thank you, ma'am, for such an illuminating session. Next, we are moving to the...
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Next, we are moving to the sixth session of our conference, which is a workshop. Workshop on the topic From Draft to Defense, Writing an Outstanding PhD Thesis in English Language and Literature. The participants and research scholars are requested to be present for the session. The workshop is led by Dr. Justin James. He has 25 years of teaching English language teaching experience to his credit. He is teaching at English College and Language Center, Nizwa College of Technology since 2005. He is currently part of Language Center's e-learning team. Sir, we welcome